We're live and now recording.
Thanks, Katie. Can we begin with roll call, please?
Yes. Mr. Antonio?
Here.
Mr. Badger?
Here.
Mr. Bleefeld? Ms. Chiavacci?
Here.
Mr. Frank? Mrs. Heyman? Ms. Karianikis?
Here.
Dr. Morris?
Here.
Mrs. Ginsburg?
Here.
Carly Meltzer?
Here.
And Sachi Mehta?
Here.
7 present, 2 absent, and 2 student board reps this evening.
Thanks, Katie. Will everyone now please join me in reciting our Pledge of Allegiance? Welcome everyone to this May 1st meeting of the Wissahickon School Board. If you take a look at our agenda, we first listed out our prior meetings. On April 10th, we had a regular public board meeting. April 17th, we had both a communications committee meeting and a board racial equity oversight committee meeting. On the 18th, we had a finance committee budget workshop. And on the 24th was our last work session public board meeting. We then list out our upcoming meetings. On May 8th, we'll have a finance committee budget workshop. And I believe that, David, that's our last one, right? May 15th is our board racial equity oversight committee meeting. May 22nd is a communications committee and our first health, wellness, and safety committee meeting. May 30th is our next work session. June 5th is going to be our next regular public board meeting. And on June 12th will be the board retreat. Now we'll move on to our presentations. And we're actually going to switch the order. We're going to begin with our graduating student board representatives recognition. Jim?
Thank you. This is our bittersweet time each year where we get to say adios, if you will, to our 2 seniors who have been with us for a couple years. Before the board members express their feelings, I know, of gratitude, I want to, on behalf of the entire administrative team, superintendent, express how proud we are of you. The contributions, the way that you conduct yourself, and the role modeling for both fellow students and, frankly, adults has been awesome. I know Dr. Blair wanted me to share. She isn't able to be here with us tonight, but she wanted me to share the same thing. And if you are, what we have is Wiss Nation to put out to the world, we're doing okay.
Thanks, Jim. And I would also, on behalf of the board, like to thank you so much for your service this past year. It means a lot to us to have input from our student community and to hear what you have to say and share with us what's going on in the schools. It really gives us an insight into what's going on in the day-to-day life of our students. So I know I certainly appreciate that. I like to hear all the fabulous updates of everything going on. And I really value your opinion when we need a student input on different issues we're voting on. So thank you so much, both of you, for doing that, and best of luck as you move on. Who else would like to comment? Duffy, you look like you're reaching.
I don't want to interrupt anybody, but ladies, everything they said, you know, I totally agree. But I also I said this last year too. This was probably a really great learning opportunity. Use these examples in every interview that you ever go on for the rest of your life. It will give you a lot of kudos. I think you were both fantastic representatives, and I really wish you all the best with whatever the next chapter has for you. Thank you so much, ladies.
Other comments? Joe?
I just wanted to reflect back that prior to Carly and Sachi being a student board rep, they were actually the second cohort of student board reps where we as a board had kind of changed expectations of student board reps for them to more actively participate in board meetings. I mean, prior to Carly and Sachi, a couple years prior to that, the student board rep position was primarily, I guess, ceremonial. They would be here at the beginning of the board meeting, give an update about the high school, and then leave within like 10 minutes or so of the meeting. Right before the cohort before them, we changed dramatically the expectations that you actually needed to be here for the whole board meeting, and you're expected to listen and engage and offer your voice and opinions about topics that came before the board. And Carly and Sachi, I wanted to commend you guys for always being honest, authentic, and vocal in matters related to yourselves as students, as well as students in general in Wissahickon. And over the past 2 years, we've dealt with a lot of stuff. And oftentimes we as board members we have our own opinions about what we think students want and need. But it's always great when we can hear from actual students what they and their peers really want and need. So thank you for everything you've contributed to our conversations, discussions, and decisions we made over the last 2 years. And best of luck in what you're doing next.
Thank you, Joe. Rosetta?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I echo what everyone says, and I just wanted to say congratulations. And I think the experience that you had this time that you were on the school board was very interesting. So take that with you. I think that Zephy said it best. Thank you.
Any other board members? All right, well, seeing none, I have some plaques for both of you. So if we could get a picture to Katie. All right, moving on, we now have our National Merit Scholars recognition.
Thank you. This next part of the presentations is one of my favorite traditions we have implemented here in West Nation, where our incredibly impressive students who have gained quite a recognition, which we'll discuss in a second, have an opportunity to give back and thank a person along the way that influenced them and help them get to where they are. So without further ado, it's a pleasure to introduce our high school, college, and career counselor, Ms. Stacey Anderson.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm excited to be back again this year, and I'm joined by 8 of our amazing seniors in the class of 2023. These students have all earned the distinction of being National Merit finalists this year. The National Merit Scholarship Program is a nationally recognized program that highlights students for their academic achievement and dedication to extracurricular activities. To be selected for the National Merit Program, students sit for the preliminary SAT in the fall of their junior year, and they must score within the top 1% of testers in their state. From here, students submit a comprehensive application sharing academic records, an essay, resume of their activities and achievements. And this past winter, these 8 students received notification that they were named a finalist, with several already receiving scholarship notifications. Tonight, I want to take time to highlight these students, but also this is a night for them to make a recognition of their own. Each student has chosen one district educator who has had an impact on their education, and they will be gifting a book of their choice with a brief note of thanks. Congratulations to our students, but also to my colleagues who are here tonight. You're all very worthy of this well-deserved recognition. So teachers, as you're called, you can come up with your student so that they can give you the book. So I'm gonna go in alphabetical order. So Tiffany Chen. Tiffany will be attending the University of Pennsylvania, and tonight she will be honoring Catherine Karshner from Stony Creek Elementary. So Tiffany.
I will be presenting Ms. Karshner with What Do You Do with an Idea? Dear Ms. Karshner, I remember those days in first grade, sitting crisscross applesauce on the rug and listening to your pockets of wisdom. It was there that I learned everything from pizza is not a nutritious meal to the importance of kindness. Above all, you instilled in me a love for learning and discovery that shapes who I am today. I'm giving you the book, What Do You Do with an Idea? Because in your classroom, you made sure our ideas and voices were the most powerful thing. You encouraged me to think broadly and creatively, to cherish my ideas and give them the space to flourish. I hope you can share this book with your first graders, teaching them, as you did to me, that everyone has something special to offer and can change the world in a unique way. As I move on to the next chapter of my educational journey, I hope to keep the childlike wonder that filled my first grader brain, a relentless curiosity that bridges fields of study and helps me discover the impact I want to leave. So thank you for inspiring me to always seek new ideas and embrace the endless possibilities.
Next, we have Rachel Kim. Rachel will be attending the University of Pittsburgh and will be honoring Monica McDermott from the high school.
All right, so I chose to give Madame McDermott the book F is for France by P. Wells. I thought she'd enjoy it. When I think back to your class last year, one word instantly comes to mind: rest. It would often give me a moment to breathe amidst my other boring or stressful classes, and for that, I was always grateful. I don't know if you remember, but my seat in your class last year was right by where you always sat during class. Often when the class would get too loud, you'd make these comments the rest of the class would miss, were always so funny or interesting to me. The memory that sticks to me most was seeing you at every school event I've been to. The musical, the play, even the band concert that no one but some eager parents attend. Always there to support the school and your students, and in that regard, a teacher your students are so fortunate to have. Because of all these things, I think one of my biggest regrets is not taking AP French. I try to keep up with my Duolingo lessons, but it really isn't the same. Last but not least, thank you so much for printing so many of my essays for me last year when the student printer was down. Thank you.
Next is Ryan O'Farrell. Ryan will be attending the University of Chicago and will be honoring Cindy Pronko from the high school.
I will be giving Ms. Pronko a copy of Toki Pona, The Language of Good by Sonia Lang. Ms. Pronko, you alone are responsible for my favorite classes, clubs, and activities at WSIHIC. Without you, there is no AP research, no accelerated math and physics, no computational linguistics competition, no JO1 homeroom, and no quiz bowl. I've known you since before I started high school when we were trying to puzzle out my math schedule, and I will continue to be under your jurisdiction even after I graduate, with our trip to the Galapagos hopefully happening this year. I think what makes your activities my favorite is that you create an environment of curiosity and active learning. I see you creating communities, whether it's bringing the quiz bowl together for our 3-2-1s or allowing our very lively JO1 conversation to take place. In our research class, we have fostered a close-knit group where we all work to make each other better researchers and students. There is a reason I'm giving you this book, and it's not just because I like Toki Pona. This is a story I would like to tell all of you about AP Seminar just before winter break. To get us to practice our presentation skills, you told us to make a presentation about a hobby of ours. One person did, for example, running, but 10th grade Ryan chose to do his on learning the constructed language Toki Pona. And most impressively, your first reaction wasn't, wow, what a nerd. Instead, after the class was over, you told me about this computational linguistics competition and encouraged me to give it a try. It didn't matter that you didn't know what Toki Pona was an hour before. You saw a kid who had an interest in linguistics and saw something special. That's your superpower. You know your students. You hear me talking about Fichte and non-Gaussian diffusion, and you spring into action and connect me with someone you knew who had studied diffusion. You've always been insightful with the college process as well. You know how to help, and throughout my high school career, you have helped more than anyone. Thank you, Sina Pona, and fingers crossed for you.
Next, we have Pat Buenpadam. Pat will be attending Temple University and will be honoring Megan McKenna, who we had at Stony Creek, but I hear is now at Lower Gwinnett.
A great teacher is one that not only teaches well, but truly cares about her students. And that's why I'm gifting Mrs. McKenna the book, Big Nate Strikes Again. It's a story about Nate, a student who's always making others laugh, but also always gets into trouble. This book resonated with me in 5th grade as a new student in the district. I felt the need to stand out and did so by being loud and obnoxious, just like Nate. Mrs. McKenna was actually gone on maternity leave for half the year, I think, but regardless, she was still one of the most impactful teachers I've ever had. I still remember this one day I was especially annoying, so Mrs. McKenna gave me a bowl of bingo chips saying that I would get chips for good behavior. Those chips could then be exchanged for 15 minutes of games. To my 5th grade self, that sounded like a sweet deal and I went along with it, but throughout middle school and high school, it became one of my biggest regrets and a wake-up call. I realized how immature I had been and I began focusing my energy into school instead of trying to impress others. Back then, Mrs. McKenna could have easily given up on me or punished me in some way, but instead she always encouraged me to do better and tried to bring out the best in me. I'm grateful for her patience and dedication, which pushed me to grow as a student and as a person. That's why I couldn't have asked for a better first teacher at Wissahickon. Thank you, Mrs. McKenna.
Next, we have Anuhia Suhas. Anuhia will be attending Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University and will be honoring Jacqueline Deach from the high school.
So I'll be giving Miss Deach how-to absurd scientific advice for common real-world problems. Dear Mrs. Deach, one of the most vivid memories from freshman year is doing a lab in your class that involved looking at specimens through a microscope. I was having a really hard time trying to figure out how the microscope needed to be set up, and I couldn't get it to work. Even though you'd explained the entire process to the class just a few minutes before, when I asked for your help, you patiently walked me through it and made sure I understood every step. Although this might have seemed small, I was so thankful for your patience and guidance in the start to my academic journey. Your class was my first real introduction to STEM, and it led me to discover my interest in studying science. As I progressed through high school, you became an invaluable source of knowledge to me, both as my teacher for honors in AP Bio and as an advisor for AP Seminar and AP Research. Your cheerful attitude towards teaching made your class incredibly fun, and your creative projects allowed me the freedom to explore and learn. Your stories about marine biology kept classes interesting and showed me what future in science could look like for myself. You've taught me so much about biology and helped instill a sense of curiosity and determination that I know will help me succeed. I'm really grateful for all of the guidance and support you've offered me throughout high school. Thank you for being such an amazing mentor, Mrs. Deach.
Next is Andy Wang. Andy will be attending Johns Hopkins University and will be honoring Tyler Radel from the high school.
I'd like to recognize Mr. Radel with the book What If 2 by Randall Munroe. I believe this book captures what I now find to be one of the most important qualities of a student, teacher, scientist, or any individual, which is the willingness to keep asking questions regardless of whether or not they may seem absurd. Mr. Radel, you created a welcoming yet challenging environment with each class period, providing both engaging lectures, but also the invaluable opportunity to explore and sometimes fail on my own. This sparked curiosity, which stemmed into an intrinsic motivation to keep learning and keep discovering on my own. And ultimately, it's this idea of scientific curiosity that I know will drive my next 4 years of education. And so I'm incredibly grateful to you, both as a mentor, teacher, but most importantly, as a role model.
Next is Vincent Zhang. Vincent will be attending the University of Pennsylvania and will be honoring Chad Tornicki from the middle school.
Hello, I'm giving the book Someone Who Will Love You in All Your Damaged Glory by Raphael Bob Waxberg, Mr. Tornicki. With a title like that, I'll provide some context to this. One day in class, you came up to me and told me about Vincent Adultman, who's a character from a show, BoJack Horseman. And you told me that he was 3 little kids in a trench coat who liked to watch R-rated movies, and he was dating a pink cat. So my main takeaway when you first told me this was to forget about it. And that's what I did. Yes. Later in the year, though, I actually watched BoJack Horseman, and it became one of my favorite and one of the most impactful shows I've ever watched. So I have you to thank for introducing that to me. This book is written by the creator of that show and displays similar themes in attempting to portray complex and hard to talk about situations, as well as the almost universally shared goal of humans to improve. Your class was engaging and introduced me to many new books and authors, but beyond that, it was a place of growth. For all your students, I felt you truly cared about them and wanted to help them succeed. The class was funny, and I always looked forward to it. And it helped shape my view of the world and my view of how to live in it, if a 17-year-old saying that really means anything. So thank you.
And our last student tonight is Lily Zhao. Lily will be attending the University of California, Los Angeles, and will be honoring Amy Founds from the high school. I'll be giving Miss Founds a walk in the wood, meditations, and mindfulness with a bear named Pooh. Dear Miss Founds, first and foremost, I would like to thank you for all your hard work, which is something I believe you don't get enough recognition for. These past 2 years with you in health and racket sports have not only supported my growth as a student, but more importantly, shown me the kind of person I hope to become. Your positive attitude is infectious, and your warmth and enthusiasm never fail to make my day a little brighter. This book, both lighthearted and inspirational, reminds me of you. You have always emphasized the importance of self-growth and reflection and have pushed me to become my best self. Although racket sports can become quite competitive, you have always managed to create a relaxing environment and urged me to try new things, no matter how awful at volleyball I may have been. I truly believe your genuineness and sincerity are one of a kind, and I strive to follow in your footsteps of kindness. You have had such a positive impact on my last 2 years here at Wissahickon, and for that, I cannot thank you enough.
Thank you so much. Congratulations to our students for your accomplishments and becoming National Merit Scholar. That's amazing. And thank you to our amazing educators who are with us this evening. I thought I would get teared up like hearing these. I kept it together, but it's wonderful to hear how inspiring these teachers were for you during your time here at Wissahickon. So thank you. Did any other board members have any comments? No. All right. Well, I did want to do a group picture. Katie, where do you think it would be best? Sounds good. All right. No.
Thank you.
Anyone
all
is
for
welcome
coming.
to stay, or you can leave. We also have a great selection of snacks out there. So please take some veggies, brownies, vegan, chickpea brownies. So lots of choices. Thank you all for coming. Oh no. All right. So now we'll move on to our first public comment period. We allow a maximum of 5 speakers on any particular topic. You have 3 minutes, and note that it's not our practice to engage in dialogue with speakers, and when appropriate, we will follow up with responses on our website. I don't see anyone register in person. Anyone online? All right, well then we will move on to our board president report. I have no informational items this morning. Oh, this evening. Under action items, I do have one item, which is approving Tim Matthews as our board treasurer for 23-24 school year. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
A motion's been made and seconded. Are there any comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, great, the motion passes. Timothy will be our new board treasurer again next year, or continue on. Superintendent report, Jim.
Thank you. No informational items, and the one action item is the new or the revised calendar that we reviewed at last meeting. So, and there's been no changes since. So with that, like please a motion for approval of agenda item 7B1.
So moved.
Second.
Any comments or questions?
Jim, I know you had sent out an email prior to the community warning this might happen. Will you send out another like finalization of this just to make sure everyone is aware?
Yes.
We confirmed about the dates that there were nothing those particular evenings that would be affected other than we had looked at Stony Creek having their field day, but there was nothing else affected by this.
We can use these 2 days without or I should say with the least amount of dislocation possible.
Great, thank you. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you. Assistant Superintendent report, Minion Wei.
Good evening. Thank you. I have no informational items, but we do have one action item for which we reviewed last week. We'll be seeking a motion to approve action item 8B1, which is the approval of the PDE flexible instructional days application for the next 3 school years.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Are there any comments or questions? All right, seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you. Board solicitor report, Michelle.
Good evening. I have no informational items and no action items.
Great, thank you. Board secretary report, Wade.
Thank you. There's no informational item. The action item has not changed since the last meeting, so I'm requesting approval of action items 10B 1 through 4.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Are there any comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Board treasurer report, Wade.
Thank you. There's no informational item, and the action item has also not changed, so I'm requesting approval of action item 11B1.
So moved.
Motion's been made and seconded. Are there any comments or questions? All right, seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Thank you,
Thank you.
Wade. We'll now move on to our human resources report. Danielle.
Good evening. Tonight, there are no informational items. Changes from last week's agenda can be found in bold. These include resignations in 12B1 and awarding change from amendment to agreement in item 12B7, which I mentioned during last week's work session. So this evening, I'm seeking approval for action items 12B1 through 7.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Are there any comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you, Danielle. Communications committee report.
Good evening. There's no informational or action items for this week.
All right, thank you. Curriculum and Technology Committee, Manyanwei, do you want to take that?
Yes, thank you. We have no informational items and all of the action items were reviewed during last week's meeting. So this evening, we're seeking a motion to approve action items 14B1 through 14.
So moved.
A motion's been made and seconded. Are there any comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Facilities and Transportation, Joe?
Thank you. There are no informational items this evening, and the action items 15B1 through 5 were all reviewed and discussed last week with no changes. So I'm seeking a motion for approval of action items 15B1 through 5.
So moved. A motion's been made and seconded. Are there any comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Finance Committee report, David?
Thanks, Amy. The Finance Committee has no informational items except to remind everyone that there's a meeting, final budget workshop next Monday. There are 5 action items that haven't changed since they were discussed last week. So we're seeking approval of action item 16B1 through 5, please.
So moved.
A motion's been made and seconded. Are there any comments or questions? My only question is, can you remind us again what the topic is for the budget workshop in case somebody didn't tune in last week?
Heard of Mr. Coleman?
Sure. So we'll review revenue, and then we're going to go through the various motions that are going to show up in June, budget transfers, budget commitments, and the various approvals that we'll be seeking, so they're not surprising to anybody.
Great. Thank you, Wade. And thank you, David. Okay, any other comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Policy Committee report, Jim?
Sure, I can take this. There are no informational items for policy tonight, and the various action items, numbers 1 through 23, were reviewed last meeting with no changes. So therefore, please looking for a motion to approve action items 17B1 through 23.
So moved.
Second.
A motion's been made and seconded. Are there any comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Racial Equity Oversight Committee report. Paul?
Thanks, Amy. There are no informational and no action items this evening.
Thank you. Health, Wellness, and Safety Committee report.
Informational item is that the first meeting will be held on May 22nd at 6 p.m. via Zoom, and there are no action items at this time.
Great, thank you. I look forward to that meeting. All right, now we can move on to the report of board representatives. Marshall's not here this evening, so we won't have an extracurricular report. I'll have an MCIU report at our next meeting. Is there anything from North Mako? No.
Nothing.
PSBA?
I don't know, Joe and Zephy, did you go to the breakfast?
Yeah, both Joe and myself went to the breakfast along with Dr. Crisfield. It was a very nice breakfast, and I actually thought they did a really nice job. We had a number of legislators who attended from Montgomery County, and Joe, you're going to have to help me with this because I can only remember 2 of the 3 topics they talked about. We talked about mental health. We talked about charter school reform.
And personnel shortages.
Personnel shortages. Where the 3 topics, different superintendents came up and, covered that topic. And really the goal of this breakfast is to ensure legislators are aware of what are some of the school issues that are going on more holistically or across the county. As you know, our legislators have to deal from anything from, traffic to, cattle, like in some areas they were joking about that, but it is true. So school may not be all the topics that they're fully aware of. So the MCIU tries to do these events to ensure that they're aware of what is top of mind for the superintendents and the school boards. So I thought it was really great. Joe, anything else you want to add?
Yeah, so just to flesh out a little bit. I mean, one of the topics of advocacy for that day was around more state support for mental health supports for districts to provide those to students. And we know that that's an issue here in Wissahickon as well, and a growing need. The charter school reform piece is like a large and big problem with public education across the state, but thankfully it's not much of an issue in Wissahickon specifically. The final piece, the third piece, was about personnel shortages and is really advocating that legislators seek solutions for increasing the pipeline of not just teachers and educators into teacher vacancies, but also support positions like bus drivers and food service workers, et cetera, which are also short-staffed and have a lot of vacancies across the state. I made a pitch for a fourth item, which was not on the official list, but it was for reviving PlanCon, which is a state program that provided reimbursements to school districts for construction costs. It's a program that had been in place for a long time, but then for the past probably 5, 6, 7 years has been like frozen. And if they turned it back on, that would certainly help us as well as districts across the state with expenditures related to capital improvements. You know, like we're doing a Bluebell and other buildings that we know we're going to have down the road. So yeah, it was a good opportunity just to, I think, meet some of the legislators and make sure that they hear directly from school folks about what's a big priority for us, for them. Thanks.
Great, thank you. And thank you for attending. I think we also have a follow-up appointment from the PSBA Day of Advocacy that we need to reschedule, right?
We do. We keep getting an email asking to share our availabilities for Bradford. So I'll look at that tomorrow. And one just like little caveat to add on to what Joe was saying. So although, you know, charter school is not a big deal for us, what they're trying to raise awareness of is equal funding, especially around special ed for brick and mortar schools versus charter schools. There is a very different calculation that charter schools get for special education versus us, brick and mortar. And it's really not fair. They actually get a lot more funding for what could potentially be argued less support. So that's what the kind of themes were around, which I thought was very interesting.
Thank you. All right, well, that ends our board representative reports. We're now at our second public comment period. I don't have anybody registered in person. Anyone online?
There's no one on Zoom.
All right, well, then we'll go to board comments. Did any of my fellow board members have any comments this evening?
Yeah, Amy, I'll just talk quickly about, we had a community meeting this past Wednesday, and I thought it was a really good step because I was really quite pleased. Both the Lower Gwinnett and the Ambler police chiefs were in the room, along with Lower Gwinnett supervisors and Ambler Borough Council people, and then a lot of community showed up as well to voice their concerns. So I thought it was really good. I think I don't know, and Wade, you can jump in here if you want, but I think the next steps for us, the board, is probably to commission some studies in conjunction with Lower Gwinnett for like traffic issues. Wade, is that what you're thinking?
So that's a possibility. Deanne, the consultant, and myself are going to debrief. I think it's about 2.5 weeks from now.
Yeah.
And then we'll come up with some action steps. Yeah. I was contacted, I'm not sure if you were aware of this, Deanne, but I was contacted by Ambler, and they are planning to add a crossing guard at Hendricks and Mount Pleasant.
I am aware, and the community has already celebrated because she was there this morning. Oh. And people were very, very happy about it. And yeah, I can confirm right now that Ambler is footing that entire bill. But I do hope that the board will approve some money for that for the future. I think this morning she might have been just there for the middle and high school, but the elementary in the afternoon is another big concern when a lot of kids are walking. So still some things to figure out. I want to make sure that, you know, that there's someone consistently there. And I think maybe more people will start walking if parents know that someone's going to be there every day. So yeah, it was really awesome.
Great, thank you for that update. Paul, you had a comment?
Yes, I had two quick comments. One, I wanted to congratulate our Wissahickon boys and girls track teams who were able to participate in Penn Relays events this weekend. It was, what's that? I didn't see all the results, but
I saw something on Instagram where Wissahickon was at the top. Didn't we win a relay? Come on, someone help me out here.
I unfortunately did not catch all the results, but I do know that they participated, which in and of itself is a great honor. I was fortunate enough to have participated in the Penn Relays while I was at Wissahickon, and I remember that and cherish those moments to this day. So win or lose, it's a great opportunity. So I wanted to congratulate the teams that were able to participate. And then the second point I wanted to make, I wanted to acknowledge that today starts Celiac Awareness Month. I don't know what all of our schools are doing, but I do know that at Stony Creek, they are acknowledging the month by allowing students who suffer from celiac to speak during the morning meeting. During the morning announcements and share fun facts and interesting ideas and things about celiac to, one, gain awareness, but also to help educate other students. And a congratulations to Lexington Badger, who was the originator of this idea and who spoke this morning as the first student to tell her fellow students about Celiac Awareness Month. So congratulations to all those students. And hopefully our other schools are doing something similar as well.
Well, I would like to piggyback off that. I also have celiacs, and I want to say that celiac disease is an autoimmune disease where when you ingest gluten, the cilia in your digestive system sort of starts attacking your body. And gluten is the protein found in wheat, barley, and rye. I think that's really important for people to know because not everyone knows that. It's not milk, it's not corn, wheat, barley, and rye. Those are the three things that celiacs can't eat. So that's part of my education. There you go.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing, Paul. And I'm really proud of Lexington for speaking up to our fellow students about that. That's awesome. And for organizing this. That's wonderful. Any other comments? No? All right.
Well, I wanted to see, since this is Carly and Sachi's probably their last board meeting, if they would offer us some like parting thoughts before we close the evening. Not to put you on the spot, sorry. Sorry to put you on the spot, but I'd love to hear any parting thoughts.
I just want to say thank you for everybody's kind of being so welcoming to all of our ideas and our inputs, because I think I speak for probably both of us when I say that we felt like we were really heard on the board. Like whatever we said, we definitely felt like some changes were being considered or some problem was effort was being put into the solution. So I think that was probably my main takeaway from this. And it was really nice to see everyone like coming together, trying to figure out solutions to help make Wissahickon like a better place for everybody.
Yeah, I would have to, she said that perfectly. So thank you for everything. This has been like an incredible experience. I think we hit it at the right time, not the right time because there were a lot of things going on, but it gave us a different perspective on how you deal with things and how to problem solve. And I think we have a lot of lessons and just things that we've learned that we could take to college. So thank you. It's been a really great experience. We keep recommending it to the sophomores.
Yeah.
So we're excited to see like who comes up.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. How about one last round of applause?
We already passed that portion of the meeting, but we can make an exception. You're the only one still here. If you want to turn your form in. McCaffrey?
Yep, Suzanne McCaffrey. I'm gonna try and keep it together. So I came to the school in 1978, 70 to 92. I too was an athlete here. still hold a record down at Henry Lace, the most recruited basketball player from the school. I have sent emails, tried for years to get some voice heard for me, and now I know for a couple other people. I attended school from 1978 to 1981, where a teacher was removed finally in 1993, but had sexually assaulted me the entire time I was here at school. And the reason I know that the school knows is because I had graduated, and when this happened in 1993, they came and found me to come and testify against this teacher so they can remove him. I have tried for years to find out what new things are in place, what happens to teachers, are they taken, or what's taken care of, how are they brought to the forefront, and what happens once they are found and removed. A lot of things have been brought to the forefront. I have been asked to be part of a big undertaking for, now I'm sure we're all heard of the Predator shows and the recruitment of students. So I've had many concerns with this. This has damaged my entire life. I also know that I'm not alone. 2 people have reached out to me recently from the school once they found out my name. And my question is, what's happening with some of the situations that I know of now? And is there certain areas, certain groups, certain board that oversees this process and bring it to the attention of the school board?
Thank you for those comments, Ms. McCaffrey. All right, going back to board comments, there were no further board comments, correct? Okay, then we were doing a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Oh, did you have something to say, Dan?
Are we, Jim, are you following up on this then? Thank you.
Yeah. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, thank you. Meeting's adjourned.